200,
Yay.
which is a milestone. Started in 1990. I joined in 91. Mark 96. Maryland 96. So, and presently we're at 85 in the membership. It fluctuates. Highest we were was 88. The lowest was about 56. So really not too bad. Meeting past year have sustained around 42 to 36, and that's not bad attendance. Look from there. Today's meeting is going to cover with Ralph Beach will be on Applescript, and Don Bennett's going to cover the novice clinic. And any news? Anybody have any Apple news to discuss or that you know of? Okay, for what I have, I was looking at this. The Worldwide Developer Conference for Apple sold out in 8 days. They announced it, and then 8 days later it was closed. They already sold all the tickets.
Did they make joining the developers conference, I mean, not the conference itself, but become a developer, is that free now?
I'm not sure.
I think it is.
Could be, but that was a milestone, and it was later this year. They usually announce it earlier, and they didn't open this until the 28th.
Well, the rumored dates were end of June, and they were able to keep that a secret for the first time.
Yeah.
The official dates.
Whether Steve Jobs will be there, they don't know for sure. They haven't announced that. And All News Mac has stated that Apple released Mac OS X 10.64 Beta 2 to developers, which will cover mainly graphic drivers, SMB, USB, and VoiceOver. Apple Insider stated that Apple stores completely sold out of the iPad 3G, and now you have to go on a furnished waiting list, and they'll notify you. And
iPad you can't find anywhere.
that's what they stated. You just have to get on the supply list, priority mode, and they'll notify you. On one side note for Mac, Ancestry.com did announce that later this year they're going to release a family tree version for Macintosh, based on Family Tree 2010 that they have, which is more GUI interfaced instead of like they had on the older ones. Whether it be as nice, it's hard to say, but at least it's competition. A side note onto that, the LDS announced this week that over 300 million items are going to, names are going to be added to the database. These are things scanned from the vaults they have in the mountains of Utah. And they've opened up a data site called it's fsbeta.familysearch.org. That's the new beta site, and there they have these records now. So if you were restricted for looking for death certificates from 1908 to for Ohio and up, 53, that was it. Now, you may go back into the 1860s, 70s, depending if records were kept. But it's worth looking at. Does anybody else have news on Apple?
I tried to sign up for Xcode, and I had to sign in as a developer, and I signed up as a free developer. So you mentioned it earlier, and they wanted something in there for $99 a year, but I didn't want to spend that. But I don't know what I got. I got Xcode to download, but it was a free download.
Anybody else?
Apple's in court with, or will be in court with Nokia, the cell phone people, and claim they infringed, that Apple infringed Nokia's patents in the iPad.
Infringed on whose patent?
Nokia?
IKEA.
Nokia.
Nokia.
Yeah, IKEA is a furniture store, isn't it?
I think they stated that they had 3 infringements and they were covered anyway on that. Anybody else have news on Apple? Okay, we'll go on to the for sale or wanted items. Does anybody have anything for sale or need anything they need? Everybody's fine.
Bunch of cables over there for anybody that wants some free stuff on the free table.
That's the free table over there. So you're welcome to any of them.
Is there a couple SCSI controllers
Yeah, I think so.
over there?
I think it may be older style. Look at the connector on them. An older style SCSI connectors and cable interface cards.
Does anybody need help on anything? it's fine.
No, I didn't, I forgot.
Last night I got on my computer about updating files, and it started and it got locked up. How do I get rid of those files? I think it's the one in Firefox. For some reason, I have trouble with Firefox.
Locking up when you're online
No, when I'm trying to upgrade,
to Firefox.
yeah.
Using Mozilla's updater, you tell it to
Well,
update?
it'll look for updates, it'll update my files, and I'll say okay, and then it'll say ready to ready to update my computer or whatever, and all of a sudden it'll just keep running and running and running, it locks up.
Never finishes.
You're right. It stops the same spot all the time. How do I go in and cancel out the ones that are supposed to be updated?
Repair permissions. Does that help? Repair permissions make that.
I'm wondering if it's some kind of permissions problem.
It's just Firefox that you're trying to
Yeah.
update?
No, it says that there's 5 files that I'm going to upgrade, and when I say okay, then it starts and goes on and on.
What files are they?
I don't know. That's why, where do I find out what files
Oh,
they
is this
are?
this is the Mozilla updater that's built into Firefox, or is this Apple software update?
Your computer said you have an update, right? That
Right,
the
and
Apple
It would probably be the
Apple software.
Well, no,
update.
but the Mozilla has its own built-in
It
updater
does,
too.
right, it does.
Oh, it does?
Mm-hmm.
And that wouldn't, and
I don't
Firefox,
use it, I just. go out
Firefox
and get
isn't
the DMG.
updated to the Apple software update. They have their own little updater built into the software.
Well,
Hmm.
where
So-
would I go and cancel it?
So, and when you said it says 5 files it's updating, that makes me wonder if it's Apple software update, because as far as I can
Yeah.
recall, the Mozilla updater doesn't tell you anything about how many files it's updating.
It shouldn't be. And if you have a problem with Firefox, actually, you might be better off just downloading the new version of Firefox and installing it. They've changed the way they search for, I don't know if you have this problem, but I have a few friends who do on Firefox. When you go to do a search or you click on a link, you can't find it, you have to double click or reload. They've truncated the way they search for URLs. And this has caused some problems for that. But as far as they're addressing it, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if some of the files on me that have updated and what they are,
So what is the updater window, is it with box, with list of things?
No.
in it?
It just says update 5 files. You ready to update 5 files? So
Unless
whether
that's
they've already
plugin
been,
for Firefox.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
would redoing Firefox help? Or should I just like scratch it and start over or what?
Well, manually updating Firefox won't help if the problem is plugins and add-ons.
Firefox has check plugins on their site.
They do.
And it checks your plugins, and it'll even tell you whether you have a bad plugin. But I've never had it tell me I have to update X amount of items. It's always just Firefox itself, nothing else.
Yeah, after you update Firefox, it automatically does a check on your plugins and add-ons. Because oftentimes, a Firefox update, it can break those things.
Sounds like a
So
new download.
it'll do that, maybe that's,
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what you're getting.
I just do a download on it?
Yeah,
See if
sounds
it's
like
there?
it.
Yeah, you just reinstall it.
You might, go out and get the latest Firefox DMG and do it manually.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest
Download.
trashing it because if you've got your favorites and everything, you'll lose it. If you just
No,
reinstall it.
No. If you flash Firefox, you won't lose both
Profile
box
is
and
separate
favorites.
from all that.
So you wouldn't have any problem.
If I go ahead
What
and
version of
throw
the
it
operating
away,
system is she using?
Throw it away and then redo it.
Yeah, but
What I'm
again,
afraid of is-
that'll update Firefox. It won't help if the problem is
Maybe have it.
plugins and add-ons.
What
Well,
system are you
So
using?
she could just do one add-on at a time. And if one of those causes a problem,
No, no.
that would
Okay, give that a shot.
find it.
Anybody else need help desk?
Have a wireless net
helping?
That's your firewalling kind of thing in the Mac firewall. Or maybe your upgraded machine just didn't have the sharing permissions. Not done with the file sharing.
Are you using the IP on the computer in your router? Is that how it's done?
Yeah. The router isn't changing the IP on you, is it?
Pardon me?
The router isn't changing the IP on you, is it?
Well,
Without you knowing it?
I don't think so. I
I'd
mean, we're able to
double-check
go
the
through
router.
and follow the dialog boxes and so forth, and in fact, they say we're connected.
Well, I've had my router address change by just powering them up in different orders
Yeah,
at times.
We
So I just
follow
have to
those.
double check that.
put those in manually. So
Do you get internet access? I mean, you can't even get to the internet.
So it's not connecting to the
Not,
router.
not the one, with the G5 we're using directly connected to the internet. That's still on, but we can't get the rest of the network.
That are wireless.
Yeah,
And the G5 is directly connected to the router.
yeah.
The others are wireless, so you're sure they're not connecting to somewhere else? The neighbor's network or something bizarre like that, not finding yours?
Well, I don't think there's this is on the Mound site, and I don't think there's anything very close there to that.
Do you have Time Warner?
No, have AT&T, which I don't like.
What's wrong with AT&T?
If the wired connection here
Uh,
and the wireless,
DSL is not better than Time Warner.
sounds like they're not connecting to the router.
DSL is not as good as Time Warner on the download speeds and stuff.
Well, the upload is where DSL hurts.
Yeah.
But when you have to deal with them, they're a lot better.
Have you checked the network?
Better business guy.
Have you checked the network connections on the computers that you can't get access to see if they have received an IP address from the router?
yeah,
And it doesn't say it's self-assigned. It says it gets a
in fact,
valid.
it says it's connected, but we can't see files.
Well, I mean, do you go to the network preference, go to the preferences and go to the network pane
Yeah.
and have it come up and see if you've been assigned an IP address, a
Yeah,
valid
that's-
one,
That's there.
okay?
What happens if you actually plug it into the router, wire through the wire?
I haven't tried that, we should
Try that,
Yeah.
see if it works.
Yeah, it's, when all else fails, hook it directly up.
Just a thought, when people have trouble, something that Rita and I try to do is when you get these error messages, screen shoot it,
Oh, yeah.
because from the description, it's pretty hard for anybody to figure it out.
It is rare.
So if you screen shoot it, and it's so much easier on the Mac to shoot the screen than it is on the PC. Just to me, the screen shooting it, you can go back and cause the problem to occur repeatedly, you can't find the name. Screen shoot all the steps, and you just take and get the problem.
Yeah, because the specific information is a big problem.
QuickTime will even let you record the video.
On the Snow Leopard.
This is what this is here.
That's
Some
true.
kind of training series.
That's Cadillac.
See, I have a
Anything else on help desk?
research on
That-
the script and all that.
Yes.
Just trying to get a head start.
I'm curious if anyone else here has Nokia phone. We just switched to Cincinnati Bell, and I'm curious.
Yeah, Nokia.
I have one of their phones.
Yeah, I'm curious if you
More than hell.
got it working nicely as far as syncing.
It's just a candy bar phone. It makes telephone calls.
Okay.
It's pretty much all it does.
We didn't do phones.
Okay. Yeah, I found an application called SyncMate that syncs the address book to the Nokia. Pretty nice implementation. Their PC software syncs to PC software. What's it?
For those who are using Cincinnati Bell, for whatever it's worth, there's spots around here where it's absolutely just dead, and I don't understand it. If you're familiar with the concept of downtown Belmont,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a downtown area, signal. You get out of that a little, and you're fine. But there's little spots around Metro Dayton that's absolutely positively dead.
Anything else? Go to the wrap.
I brought a short shell. I've got a 17-inch Mac PowerBook laptop that's sitting on my desk, and one day I noticed it was rocking a little bit. I said, why is it doing that? The battery was swelling. Now, I replaced the battery, but this, if anybody wants to see what happens to batteries when they start going bad,
All good batteries go bad.
good batteries go bad eventually. This one, no, it was still working, but
Did you pry that apart, or is that the way it came out?
So if it's still working, what's your problem?
the keyboard kept rocking.
Oh, so it was ergonomic.
If anyone wants to see what happens to some of these batteries when they start going bad.
Still under warranty?
No, it wasn't under warranty, and they cost a lot, but, you know, if your laptop starts rocking, then
Don't bother knocking, right?
that's something to look at. On a second one, our son has a similar MacBook, and he was in the habit of letting it run and the lid opened up, and he'd grab it on the front right corner and pick it up. And this is the older, before they came out with the milled shell that they have right now. But his laptop, if you look at the edge of the thing, it kind of tilts down. His drive still works in it, the hard drive and the CD, DVD drive. It's not good to just pick it up on the front corner all the time and carry it around. It can bend on you. So I've got this back here if anybody wants to look at it.
Okay, we'll go on to the raffle. Any members that came in late that doesn't have a ticket, would you come up?
I predict Bill will lose.
We'll continue with the meeting. Ralph Beach is going to do apple scripting. And over here we'll have the announcement.
Right now, I'll just say, it was tough presentation.
Oh, it's already gave me. Hello. Hello. You guys hear me? Excuse me. We're going to do our presentation. Please have a seat.
Didn't get fired, that's good.
Get my baseball bat. My name is Ralph Beach, and I happen to be a part-time programmer, so this is a little thing that I like to do on the side. I'm actually piecing together a bunch of little examples of Applescript. In this particular case, we're going to be looking at Applescript using the script editor, the Applescript Studio, which is part of Xcode, and the automator. We're just going to touch into the automator. I don't really like the automator, but I'll just show that there's a feature there for doing an Applescript in the automator. Today's date, of course, is, I believe, the 8th. So, let's see if this works. Oh, wait, you guys don't have, hey, they don't have a remote control thing on the front of these new Macs, do they? Well, that doesn't work. Okay. Well, that should. There's no hole there. Okay, I have an older MacBook Pro, and it comes with a little remote control, and so I'm going to have to actually push a button, so let me know if you guys can't hear me anymore. All right, oh, there we go. All right, particularly we're looking at, when I did the presentation, when I put all this stuff together, I'm using Xcode 3.0, and I'm using an OS 10.5, Leopard. I'm going to show basically how to use that. That's all right, I got one of those too. Thanks.
This one will work, I know. What is the Xcode thing?
The Xcode is a free software development package that comes with your installation disk. It's normally under the Extras folder. You can install it, and they have free updates, but you have to sign up for the developers package. They used to have a a program where you pay nothing and they give you just barely any kind of support for the information to go download the newer versions of Xcode. They'd have bug fixes in the downloaded version. I'm using one that does not have any fixes in it, so it has bugs in it. It's right out of the package, so there's no hidden add-ons or anything. It's just, I put in my 10.5, installed it on my machine, put the Xcode extra on, so I can go and develop things. The Applescript itself that comes with the machine does not depend upon Xcode. Xcode is just an additive thing that we're going to demonstrate a little bit later. We happen to have here some differences between leopard and snow leopard. We'll get to the differences. I mean, they're very subtle little differences, but they make it readable, easier to do some Xcoding in snow leopard. So that's pretty much what we're looking at. Those two platforms kind of tell you, if you were to set this up, you'd be able to do the same thing at your house right now. I'm looking to get towards up to intermediate users. In other words, this is going to be a quick flyby for the beginners who have never used Applescript. The target here is that if you want to hire somebody to do an Applescript, you have now the vocabulary to kind of tell them what you want to have done, whether or not you want to have a script editor written in Applescript Studio or use Automator. And if you want somebody to program for you, I believe Chuck over there is all right, so the first subject is going to be the script editor, which has been publicly available under OS 7 on. And you'll find a lot of documentation on the internet about using a script editor. You got to figure out whether or not they're talking about OS 7, OS 8, OS 9, or OS X. Pretty much anything that's like 2009, 2010, you're going to pretty much assume it's OS X that they're talking about if you go on through the web to look up stuff about script editor. The way that you would start it is you go to your applications thing and you go to the script editor. Now I've got my extensions turned on, so it says .app. On yours it would not have the extension on there. And once you run it up, start it up, it pulls up a blank document, and that's it. That's the whole thing right there to write your script editor. First thing that I do is I tell everybody to go down to the bottom and change it to event logs. I should also mention that each one of the versions of script editor have the event log button hidden someplace. You have to go look for it. And all it is on this particular case, it's right there. Some of them, they have it at the top, depending on what OS you're working on. I like to take this example here where we're going to type in something that says, say the word beep using the voice Alex. It'll actually tell the computer to say the word beeps, which is kind of goofy. But it's all in purple. And the reason why it's in purple is it says this is raw text. I have not done anything with it. I have to go and compile it. That's what that little hammer is for next to it. If you were to go and hit that hammer, it'll go and compile it, and it changes the text to different colors to indicate whether or not the word has to be preserved, such as the word as and the word using. And the strings of beep and Alex are strings. They're just anything you want to put in there. I had to choose an actual name, Alex. There's Ralph, there's Bruce, there's Philo, I think. That comes with the machine, so if you got a MacBook Pro, it probably have like 8 or 9 voices that you can use in lieu of Alex. I just like Alex because it actually sounds more like a human. If you were to pick the one that says Ralph, it sounds more like Stephen Hawkins, computerized. When you run it, because we have the event log on first, it'll actually go and tell you what it did down at the bottom. Now this is somewhat important because all we said was one thing. It went and added 2 lines above that, which was tell current application. And what it's doing is it's saying, hey, to run this thing, you have to go right into the current application and ask it to invoke the say command. The proper way to actually write this code is to make what they call a handler, which is what they sometimes refer to as a function in some languages, a method in other languages, depending on what language you're using. In Applescript, they call it a handler, and it's called run, and it's very simple. I got to put the word on to indicate that it's a handler, and then the name of the handler itself is a run. By default, we've been using implicit. This is being explicit to say that there's a handler. The reason why I happen to be bringing up the fact that we want to put a handler around it is so I can go make other routines that I might call up all over the place. So I'm just going to make a quick Oh, there, after you run it, does the exact same thing, so the addition of the handler thing does not help us in any way as far as the event log. It ran and did exactly the same thing, it has 3 lines, just like it did before. So now I'm gonna make a new handler called MySpeakBeeps. I chose that word so it would not roll off my tongue so easily. The name is arbitrary. This green part right here, I can call it anything I want. I got parentheses right there to indicate that it's going to accept information, parameters from someplace else. This is how I invoke it. I just go and type it in there. So now this piece of code actually will be run right there. And it's saying the same thing. Say beeps using Alex. And if I have to return anything, I can return something. That's how hard it is to make a full-fledged function, method, behavior, or in this case, a handler. So I can call it up all over the place.
Can you say a few more words about handler? Is that an application or?
No, this is just like a function, a subroutine, a routine that you're going to call up over and over and over again. It will allow you to modularize your code, so you're going to call this function over and over and over again, several different places.
Okay, this is an Applescript doer?
No, it's just me partitioning parts of my code, and then I can call up that piece of code over and over and over again without having to write it in there each and every time. I just add a little call to it.
Just by summoning the handler?
Yeah,
by that name?
By invoking the name right there. When it runs, it'll go and turn around and call that up. Which is like jump down here and do this and then jump back.
Okay.
So it's just a function call. It's just what some other languages call functions or methods, behaviors. They have all sorts of different types of way of saying, I have a set of code that I want to call repetitively. I don't want to have to keep putting it in each and every time. I'm going to put it into a little group called, and then I've got it right here, MySpeakBeeps. And I can have a whole bunch of code keep calling this. This particular example is not too robust, but it's to show what...
What's the purpose of return? What is return?
Just to show that's how you would return a value.
Oh,
So if I were to call this, I want to process it,
yeah.
and then turn around and give me back the processed information. The return, I would put it right after the return, whatever it is. Just
You're naming the value that's returned.
yeah, I would. Well, no, I just turn around and told it to send back something like hello.
Oh.
Okay, what is the syntax for this? You start out with, if you want a name with entire routine, you put function in front of it.
Well, you will start off with either a to or an on. That's how you start off with a to tell it that you're doing a function, a handler.
Okay, what's the difference between a two and an on?
Doesn't matter. It's syntactically the same. It's just whichever one's readable to you. The machine, the computer will sometimes generate its own code for you. It'll stick the word on, but you can use the word to either place.
Now, for the names, are they Chinese names or?
And then you give up an arbitrary.
8283884.
The function name can be arbitrary.
So it could be a letter and.
Yeah, you probably want to make it something a little bit more robust and readable for you, so you could have it mean something to you, but it wouldn't mean something to somebody else.
I hate the typo.
Well, that's all right. You can make it really short.
A1 is fine.
The reason why I'm being cautious about that is because sometimes you'll pick out a keyword that should look like a keyword, and all of a sudden it'll turn blue, and all of a sudden your code doesn't work because it'll say cannot understand it or something like that.
Also, if you make it human readable, it's also a lot easier on you when you come back 4 years later.
Or
You say,
4 hours when you're gone.
"What the hell did I do here?"
You have to be a senior, it's 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's, I go to lunch when I forgot what I've done. Anyways, now the trick is that I'm calling up things that are already part of the operating system or part of the application that I'm trying to use. In this particular case, the word say is blue. That's a command that is available. It's a verbiage that's available in Applescript for me to do. And it literally just tells the computer to use the speaker and say what it is that it's supposed to be saying. In this case, beeps. We need to know how we can pull up these particular words that we're allowed to use, these particular keywords that are available. We go to the, I'm just going to skip over how you get to it because it's in the file menu. When you're you're in AppleScript, you go right up to File, and there's a thing that says Open Dictionary. That's how you open the dictionary. But you got to pick which application you're interested in. And there'll be a big long list. And there's some on there that don't actually show up as an application in your application folder. There's URL access scripting, which Chuck was using. There's also one that's called system events. There's all sorts of things that will show up in the directory, the dictionary list, which are not applications that you normally see. When you open up one of those dictionaries, it pretty much has a standard format. There will be three or so windows here. You got this view, there's another view hanging out here. And when you select something here, it'll come down here to the bottom and modify that bottom view. All right, so they call the first one suites. They're supposed to have standardized suites. Back in the day, they required it. Everything that was scriptable had to have 3 standard suites. There was a standard, text, and a required. The required would be like open and close. If you're going to open a file, close a file, they required it. Nowadays, they got dozens of suites are showing up. When you click on one of them, they pull down to the bottom view a list of all the functions, and you're supposed to figure out how to read this. Now, there's no way in the world that I could tell you how to do anything here to go through this whole list. It would take hours and hours and hours to try to figure out all these things. Pretty much you have to figure it out contextually. You get a book, you go online, you read about it.
Okay, my first question, which book do you recommend?
Actually, I do this all by brute force myself. Somebody just handed me a book here. Apparently the club gets a discount.
Yeah, and that's a freebie they sent us.
That's a freebie.
Why don't you raffle off and let me win it?
He already did.
Oh,
He won it by virtue as he's making the presentation.
I'm no wizard apple scripter, but based on my own experience, I think this is a classic example of the elephant that you have to eat one bite at a time. The easiest way that I think for me, and I think for a lot of people, start with something simple that you want to automate, something that isn't going to require an Apple script like this, but an Apple script like this. Okay, like batch renaming files or something like that. Something that's not horrendously complicated, and then start with something simple and then just work out from there. I think that's the best way to approach it.
Being a complete novice, all right, what you're doing is setting up some kind of automated thing. When you hit a keystroke, it's going to do a certain thing, right?
I'm setting up a script. In case anybody doesn't know what AppleScript is, which I erroneously made an assumption that everybody would, an AppleScript is a batch file for the Windows people. It's essentially a way of telling the computer, do step 1, step 2, step 3 that I'm going to do over and over and over again as a virtual user. It's going to do it for me. It used to be that there was a record button in AppleScript, and you'd be able to, on OS 7 through OS 9, hit the record button, go and click on things, it'd record all that, and then you play it back, and it would go do all that clicking for you again. They turned off that. They turned that off because of multi-threaded, multi-processor environments. There's a timing issue as to what got clicked before what, because it can't keep track of those events. But let me go through this real quick for this example, understanding the syntax of a command. It's real short here. We're talking about the close function. You can see right here that it has close, and it says a little V underneath that, after that. The V represents verb. When they originally came up with the idea of AppleScript, it was supposed to be grammatically correct. You were supposed to have nouns, verbs, accusative objects, blah, blah, blah. So when you read an AppleScript, it's supposed to read like a sentence. Over the course of the last 20 years or so, they've kind of slipped away from that on occasion, but they still keep the notation as to a verb to indicate that close is a verb, an action thing that will do something. You might see nouns and adjectives every once in a while in that list. Kind of gives you an idea what it's for, but it's not a guarantee that you'll use it that way. It's telling you here in a very cloak and dagger kind of thing, closes an object. Okay, what object? Well, a file can be closed, a window can be closed. It won't close your car door, but it'll close some sort of object that it can handle. And you're supposed to say what, all right? And then it says here in little brackets, which means that it's an option. Do you want to ask the people if they want to save whatever it's closing? If you're doing a text editor window and they got a bunch of text that you got to change, and when they go to close that window, it might be wise to go and say, hey, do you want to save what you just worked? So there's an option here. That's why that's saying that. And this is why I was saying that contextually you have to figure out whether or not you want to do something. It's because if you're trying to close a file, you don't want to save the file you're closing, because when you close it, it saves. It's kind of redundant, kind of ambiguous to say, do you want to save it when you're already saving it? So you have to kind of figure out that this is a generic close, and they're giving you all the different options. Just underneath that where it says count here, there's a little arrow indicating that when count finishes, it's going to return a number of elements, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's what it's saying, is it's going to return an integer value. That's kind of a subtle little notation that they put in between the things. All right, so before we were talking about having it tell certain applications to do things, and that we have a direct dictionary that we can go through and find out. But how does Applescript know that we're talking to a specific application, like system events or numbers or what's this thing called now? Keynotes, the application here. You have to specifically tell it. So you have to do what's called a tell block, which is you start with tell and you end with end tell, and you tell it which application you want to use. And in this particular case, I'm going to do what they did down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to explicitly say tell current application to say beeps. I'm going to put the tell block around my function call. Now this is before I run it. And as soon as I run it, I get a big, oh, I cannot do that. Ouch. Cannot continue with my speak beeps. Well, because the current application, whatever application happens to be current, does not know where that is. But there's a simple little fix here, and it sometimes escapes people's studies. I have to put the word my in there, because my is telling it that the application, I don't want you to run your version of my speak beeps. I want you to use my version of my speak beeps, because that means the scripts. In other words, it's going to tell the current application to come outside of current application and find my speaks in the script.
Did you not put parentheses at the very line, your last in my speak beeps? You didn't put a pairing after the beeps. Did you not do that? Parentheses.
Parentheses, oh.
Yeah, on the bottom line there, in my speak
Oh,
beeps.
no, okay, I'll
left
tell you a
it
little
off.
trick about the Apple scripting. I just type in the word end, and when I compile it, it sticks that on there for me.
Oh, okay.
I normally don't tell people that because I like them to suffer.
I was looking for consistency there.
Yeah, it puts in that. It does not need to know the parentheses because it's just demarcating the end.
And there's a white space between and my speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so I just type in the word end, and when I compile it, it throws that in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my function call a little bit more dynamic. I'm going to pass a parameter to it. Hello. And when I do, I got to tell the function I'm calling that it's going to accept a parameter. In this case, I gave it a generic name. I like to prefix a variable name with the word in or out to tell me whether or not I'm going to put something into that function or expect something to come out through that parameter. That's old school programming in case you guys are wondering. But it also avoids something. If I turn around and just type the word string up there, it suddenly turned blue. Because string is a key word. The Applescript identifies objects as being strings, text, numbers. It reserves those string, text, number words as key words. And if you turn around and just typed in string, it would have turned around and turned it blue, and then your program would have crashed, and you would have been like, I don't understand why.
If you were to spell string as S-T-R-I-N-G-G.
That would be different enough that it would accept that as a variable name. Right. But I
Very
just,
literal.
yeah. So I turn around and I put the word in there to indicate that I'm putting something in.
But it doesn't recognize caps, does it? I mean, a
If
capital
I type, If I type this in as tell, all caps, it would have converted it right to lowercase. Because it would say, oh, well, it's a keyword, I'll just make it lowercase for me when I compile it, yeah?
Let me understand this, if I had call a subroutine, and I give a name, parenthesis, the variable symbol for a value, close parenthesis. Call it subroutine, and it finishes executing. Do I have to then, whatever is in that position, is between the parentheses change, or do I have to do something to get it?
It sends the information by reference, which means that it will change the value of the target that you started with.
So I could say 5, send that to the subroutine, X is equal to 5, it goes to the subroutine, when it comes back, X could be equal to 10.
You could do that, yeah, you could do that. You can get kind of creative here. That's what by
So I
reference.
would change the that variable from 5 that it sends to the routine, bring it back to 10. When it comes out of the routine, it'd be 10.
Well, if you're passing in a value of 5 and you change it using just a variable name like inString equals inString plus 1, you'll go and change the original.
Which is ratchetly up by 1.
Right. It does it by reference. After I use, all I did now was I put the string up there. I gave it a parameter list here in the function itself, in the what they would refer to as a signature, but nobody cares about that. And then I would use the end string right there. And now I can make my function, my speak beeps, dynamic, where I can change what it's saying, still using the voice Alex. So if I want to go and change the voice, I'd go and augment my parameter list, and I put a comma in voice. Maybe I put anything for the parameter name, I'm just making it obvious for me to read, and then I'm using it from that line itself that says speak, and say that using that voice. So now my function, my speak beeps, can be embedded in another handler, called up, and told to say different things using different voices. But if you look down at the bottom, when it runs, it says exactly the same thing it said before. But it says hello instead of beeps. All right, so this part, the events log, is showing exactly what we've been having before with, say, speaks, replaced with hello. All right, so this is an actual example of a script that I wrote, that I use. I don't know if anybody knows what Twit TV is. Anybody watch Twit TV on the internet? Okay. Twit TV is a project by Leo Laporte, who used to do screensavers back in 2002, somewhere around. What he does is he's a radio personality who got stuck doing some television stuff. The screensaver program that he was on got canceled, bought out by somebody canceled. He turned around and went back to doing the radio stuff that he'd been doing for 35 years, took the money that he was making from the radio stuff, and set up a studio to make podcasts. Well, he also started incorporating cameras. If you go to live.twit.tv, you can go and watch them making the podcast. He's got a video streaming going out there all the time. Well, there's people who like his shows so much, they set up a way to actually record his shows, and they give you an example of how to do that. So what I did was I wrapped around a little thing that tells the terminal to do two little things for me so I can record it. The first one is, well, obviously we have an implied run handler. I didn't put on run anywhere around here, but it's going to imply that we're doing a run handler around all this stuff. And it's going to tell it's going to use a tell block telling the terminal application. If anybody's not familiar with the terminal thing, it's that DOS-like command prompt area, sometimes called the dark space of death or something like that. The first first line here is something that I modified. And what I did was I'm actually telling my script to go call another script, another file out there someplace, which pretty much just says process quit. It's going to quit any other recording that's going on. I found out that I have limited bandwidth, and if I accidentally have 3 or 4 different things trying to record, I might accidentally overwhelm my bandwidth. So that first line just tells terminal to look for any other recordings and kill them. And that's actually kind of convoluted. That's why I have it hidden away in another file. But as such, I can actually call it up from several different types of applications, sort of like the handler mechanism. I'm calling another script to someplace else that has all my library of routines, and then I don't have to have it all right here so it's readable. That way I just have these 2 lines where I can just specify that the second line, go out and do it. Now, this is the command. That's the target file where I'm going to save it. That's 135 minutes. And the do script is part of the vocabulary for terminal to tell terminal to do something. If you guys are going to do any kind of programming with scripts like this, you have to watch out that it says do script and not do shell script. 2 different monsters. All right, so the OD timer takes 2 parameters, where to store the stream and for how long to be running. And now you might be asking us a question, which most people are like, okay, so you made the script. What are you going to do with it? iCalendar. We like iCalendar. iCalendar will run even when it's not running. You can have it do events for you. So I went to, look, actually what's out. This is not a ghosting error. The green stuff is from a subscription. I cannot modify the green stuff. So I actually wrote a script that went out and it copies the green into the red and makes a separate put live thing, which I can modify. And I'm going to take the first one here that's on Sunday at 2 o'clock our time, and you can see that I can change it. But here's the interesting part right here. I didn't want to record the tech guy because, strangely enough, that's him doing his radio show. You can actually watch him doing his radio show. But the radio stations don't want you to hear the callers calling in, so all you hear is his side of the conversation, which kind of makes it 3 hours of somebody talking to himself. But the Munchcast, which is right on afterwards, it happens to have about food, and they go some weird food items. I found out that the guy who made the Easy Bake Oven died in April. Things like that.
Why did this not make the page 1?
Well, go look up the guy's history. He's not just an inventor of the Easy Bake. Apparently, he's got a chemistry degree or something.
I don't know, we missed it. Yeah.
Well, anyways, down here where the alarm feature is, look what it says. It says run script. So you select that, and then in this particular case, I already have it listed where it's going to run the script. But you can have it do all these options. I'm choosing the option that says run script. And then down at the bottom of this long list, the next line down when you select it, there's other. I already have it selected up here, but I'm going to show you what it looks like when you come down here to other. You just start off by searching a regular dialogue thing. And as you can see, I have some 30 different Twitch shows that I'm watching. That's why I have to have one that kills the previous one, because they're all different times. And I got 130 minutes. The show's only an hour long. Why do you have it down for 135 minutes? Because they talk before and after the podcast recording. And they will talk and talk and talk. And the most interesting conversations are before and after. So I have it record like 15, 20 minutes beforehand and then afterwards. And every once in a while they have really interesting presentations that are not on the calendar. He did screencast thing, for screensavers thing. On Friday, he had a episode of Screensavers on there, which I don't know what the legalities are about the copyright issues, but he was actually showing a videotape live across his channel on Friday at 6 o'clock. This is what terminal looks like. And all that stuff that I did with the Applescript actually pulls open a window, tells terminal to become active. So in the middle of whatever you're doing, it pops up, which can be annoying when you're watching movies. And it literally types that stuff in for me. And this is, I'm blanking out my IP address. And it actually typed that in for me right there. The tool that I'm using, for anybody who's really into terminal programming, there's a tool called Curl, C-U-R-L. Do a man page on it, and you will find out all sorts of nice things about pulling down streams, which this is an audio-video stream. And one of the features is that it has has this feature right here, which is going to give me an up-to-date progress as to how we're doing. And in this particular case, it's telling me the total percentage, well, of course it's 100%. Even if it drops a few packets, it's still going to say 100%. But it's giving me my average download speed and my current download speed, so I can see if I'm using my bandwidth. I start seeing like 1 or 2K when I'm expecting 50K downloads, I start going, oh, something's wrong. One of the things about this little package that I'm using is that if I lose the connection, it'll actually disconnect, and the curl will try to reconnect. So I may end up having several different versions of this block showing up. And I had to write it so it changes right there.
Traps in the shell script?
Yeah. I actually had to go and make a file name. The target that I'm using has a .1 at the end. So when it stops, it starts a whole new session. It'll put a .2 after it, put a .3 after it. And it's nothing that I did. It's part of the, if you go to, if you search on ODTV, On-Demand TV, timer, as one word, ODTV timer, you'll pull up a little, hey, download this, change this, put it over here, and then put it in your, you just type it in as your.
So was that an associated shell script?
Yeah, that's the shell script I got from somebody else.
Okay, so you acquired the shell script, you didn't write
Yeah.
it.
Leo wants you to watch his shows. Leo has some volunteers who are doing this. The volunteers put up this little script for you. They tell you to download it. This is how you use it. So I'm not doing anything copyright violation-wise. I'm not doing anything that's ticking him off. He wants you to do this, so I'm using it, and it allows me to experiment with the curl instructions. So the cool thing about the iCal is that you can have it invoke all sorts of scripts. You can have it do backups. You can go do an Applescript that says, go and look in this folder. If there's anything in that folder, put it out on the cloud someplace. You can have iCalendar actually take itself and make a publish subscription type thing where it publishes back to Google. You can have iCalendar wake you up in the morning by having it turn on iTunes and sing a song to you if you want.
That's what I do
Okay.
when I'm on vacation.
You can have it.
You wake up when you're on vacation?
You don't understand, my vacations usually aren't vacations. They're usually Red Cross deployments or
Working
something,
vacation.
yes.
Some of us don't go to sleep on vacation.
It's too bad you have to go to terminal to wake yourself up. Just a
Oh,
simple
you don't have to-
clock would do it.
You don't have to go to terminal.
Terminal wake up sounds bad.
I count and set it up to wake you up. Yeah, okay.
Because normally I don't, on normal work days, I don't use an alarm clock at all.
Anyways, one of the things that if anybody in here is into photo things, there's actually a image scripting application that's faceless in here, and you can actually have the Applescript go and rotate pictures for you, 90 degrees clockwise,
Very
counterclockwise.
well.
There's all sorts of stuff there. You can also have it go out and look for a web page and see if it has to be available, updated since the last time you looked at it, or just recorded every 15, 20 minutes if you are that impatient. But iCalendar can be used for all sorts of things to invoke that when you're not using it. If your computer's on, iCalendar will kick on. Really, if you're logged in, then the iCal for that user will kick on. So if you have two users logged on and they walk away from the machine, and they're both trying to stream from Twit at the same time, the little thing that I made actually kills the other guy. So whoever started
You actually have to have a script, an Applescript, in order to get iCal to wake you up to a song out of your iTunes. it's got an alarm.
Yeah, you can tell it.
It can't make you do an iTunes without going through all this ring-a-ring here.
Well, I'm showing how to run a script that specifically records something off the internet for me. But there's also message with sound, so I can do music and pop up a little dialogue.
Oh,
You
so
can-
you can get iTunes without going through that.
Yeah, you fill this in, and
Okay.
but if you're looking for a snooze button,
Can you trigger an FTP feed that way?
yes.
Did not know that, okay. They are.
How much damage can you do? That's the hardware with the software. The reason I ask, when I was doing macros for Excel, I did them on the machine at work. That way if I screwed up somebody big time, there were professionals to fix it. Then I would bring it home once it was working and I'd use it on the machine at home.
Without a calendar, you're not going to do anything major because it's just going to start up program processes. If you're in terminal, you can
You
get
can
off your
host,
foot.
you can
Big
host.
time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get off your foot there. All right. One of the other things that you might be unaware of is that the login application that you use to log in can be scripted. So if you want to do something every time, yell at somebody, hey, get off my computer, or whatever, you can go and put a script into your login window application to invoke every time somebody logs in with that user account. The big thing about the basic Applescript that I just showed, there's a way to do a little dialogue thing, and you get real fancy with it, but it's very limiting, and it's kind of, well, not very helpful. We have a graphical machine here. We should take advantage of that. The problem is that we have to now go into a whole new genre of code. And we kind of have to start talking about using the Xcode developer package to take advantage of the graphics. Once you use Xcode, you have full potential of the whole machine to do graphics or whatever. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to exemplify how to get what they refer to as Objective-C into an Applescript. And I'm going to do it in a very lazy way because I'm a lazy programmer. No, I'm going to do something cute. Somebody else already wrote something called NS application. I'm going to attach the new function to it. This way I don't have to write a whole new whatever and figure out how to go.
Well, good, actually, that's not necessarily lazy programming. Good programmers reuse code. You don't write everything from scratch.
Well, when you see this, you'll be gone. That's lazy. All right, the first thing I do is I go into Xcode, and I'll start it up however you want to start up Xcode. So the first thing I'll do is go into the File menu and pick out a new project. And way up there at the top of the list, you'll see in this particular version of Xcode for this particular platform, Applescript application. In the OS and Snow Leopard and the newer versions of Xcode, you'll say Cocoa Applescript application. This is where you get the, after you chose that you're going to do a new Applescript thing, it's going to pop up, what do you want to call a project? What I like to do is go and choose the directory first, because strangely enough, I've actually come across this where I type in the project name, and while I'm typing it in, it went and made a folder on my root. And I don't want it to do that, so I go in there and say, well, first I'm going to pick out a directory. And I normally use something like programming or something I can growl it. And then I give it. Oh, by the way, I stream Algorithms. Anybody listen to WISO on the weekends, Sunday nights? They have a show that's more ethereal ambiance. Actually, there's a reason why I did that, because that's actually used to be my show, but that's another story. The first thing that'll pop up after you've completed that dialogue is it comes up with this project window. Now at the top, there's something red, which is saying it's missing. It's not too much of a hassle. What it's saying is you haven't written the application yet, and it's saying your application is missing. Oh, I haven't built it yet. I haven't done anything. How can I? But it already knows that I'm supposed to have that application called that. The first thing that I like to do is I like to go from release to debug. because I can now debug my Applescript or any kind of my code in the debugger. I can do it at release, but I have to go and add a few features, or I got to turn on some stuff. So I just like to go straight here, say debug. And this is how you go and build and run the actual application. If I were to do it right now, it won't do anything but put up a little cute window, nothing in it. So, before I get to there, down here at the bottom, in this particular case, these are all alphabetical here, says main menu nib. In the newer versions of Xcode, instead of being NIB, it might be XIB. Main menu is actually my graphical interface. This is where I go and make my windows and stuff. I go and I drag windows and buttons and things over. And it's a full-blown application onto itself. It's separate from Xcode, but it likes Xcode. They work together. They talk together. So once I do this, I'm actually in a different workspace. Xcode's in the background. I go and I click on window, pulls up my brand new blank window that I'm going to add. I'm going to go up to the menus there where it says tools, and I'm going to open these two windows. They don't automatically start up, so I got to go and do that. One of them is the library, which is a library of graphical items, and the other one's the inspection. So when I click on a graphical item, I can go see what properties it has. Those four things are basically what we're going to be looking at. I'm lazy, so you're going to see the same slide over and over again. In the library, I want a button, so I'm going to come down here to the bottom, and I'm going to type in the search window button, and all these choices of buttons will show up. I choose one of those guys, drag them across to the window someplace, and drop it. And that's it. That's pretty much it. That's my whole window's impressive, isn't it? I don't know if you guys can see it, but it has two little dots here. That's how I can drag and make it bigger. I cannot make the button taller, but I can make it wider, and I can drag it anywhere on the screen. This is the title of the button. I'm being generic here. The title of the button is called button. Okay. I'm going to go back to my inspection window, and I'm going to go up to the very top, and I'm going to select this last tab, and that's an Applescript tab. We're working in Applescript. Guess what it's for? The first thing I like to do is go and select the file that I'm actually using, which will be Applescript. If I have a lot of different type of files called Applescripts, they show up here. I picked this first because the next step that I use is I give it a name. If I chose the name first and then chose the file, it erases the name. So that's something that causes me much grief when I'm sitting there going, I gave it a name, where'd it go? Then I come down here and I click on the word when the button is clicked. What action do you want to do? Well, I'm going to call an event handler called click. Now this is where Xcode and the nib editor work together. As soon as I clicked that, it went and wrote that part of the code for me. So it went into that file that I chose, which was Applescript, and it put that in there. So now whenever I click something, it calls that up. I go and I type in our lines, which will be generically blah, blah, blah. If the object's name is button, then beep 1. It's going to make the system go beep. And again, it's in the raw color because it has not been compiled yet. There's no blue words in the if the object name blah, 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 blah. After we compile it, it'll change the colors. If you turn around and say build and go, you're compiling it. The build part is compiled. And it indented it for me. I didn't have to go and move it over for beat 1 to be over one spot. I didn't actually have to type in the end if. It automatically puts the if on the end of end. But that's the basic thing I went and typed in. Then I went to change it so it looks like our other project that we did in Applescript. So now we have the save thing just like we had before. And when we run it, it won't run because the name and title are two different things. The name of the button is not button. It was that big long button push 1 that I put in when we were in the inspection window. What I want to do is change the title to button. That's what's actually on the button that you saw there. And then when we do that, it'll actually run. You can go build it, run it, and click on the button. Every time you click on it, it'll go beep, beep, beep. Wow, exciting. All right, so now I'm going to add a feature, which is for those of you who want to annoy people. There's a feature called idle. We go back to the nib. We select the application. Instead of the window, we're going to select application. We're going to go to the Applescript thing again, the tab. Remember, you got to go to the Applescript tab. You have to pick out the file that you're interested in. And we're going to go over here and say idle. And this is the context of the idle. I added this line here. Looks like the on-click thing. Tells me that I have to do this. The word minutes is in Applescript a reserved word, which means 60 seconds. So 1 times 60 is 60 seconds. It's important to note that the word is in plural. It distinguishes between the plural version and the singular version. The singular version is not a key word, so it would show up green. So it would come back and say 1 times 0. Not going to happen. All right, so that's the mechanism by which we get. I should tell you what idle does. When the computer is not doing anything, it will call us up. And because we told it to return a value, it knows to call us back up in 1 minute. You can probably see where I'm going to go with this to annoy people. But first, I'm going to go back to my Objective-C stuff. Objective-C is what your operating system is written in. It's native to the machine. Anybody who's done any C programming can do Objective-C rather easily. I'm going to do a very simple little routine. I'm going to go into Xcode's file menu, choose a new file, not a new project, a new file. I'm going to choose, in this particular case, I'm going to go down from whatever else was up there, down to Objective-C. There's all sorts of different versions of Objective-C. I'm just going to go straight to a generic class. It pulls up this window here, and this is a subtle little difference here, is that it's actually asked me to do 2 different things. When I title this, it will title this. One of them is an H file. That's a header file. Anybody who's done any programming knows that what you do is you go and you make a description of your file, leave it over there, you give it out to your friends, but you take your actual secret sauce and you go and code that and hide it from them. They can see the header file, you can give that out, but you keep the secret stuff to yourself. So what it's doing here is it's generating 2 files, the header that you give to everybody and your secret sauce formula. And I'm just going to give it a name, which in this particular case, when I was doing it, I was going to go, I'll make a timestamp. So I'm just going to print out time. And I'm going to do what's called a category version of Objective-C, which is I'm going to take somebody else's code, I'm going to add my own function to it. The lazy programming I was talking about. Well, it turned out that I didn't actually go that way, but we're going to keep the construct of timestamp just so we have it. In this particular case, it went and wrote that all for me. I didn't have to do anything. As soon as I said, make me a new thing, it made 2 files. One of them is here. It went ahead and named all this stuff for me. Put the .h on the end, so I don't have to touch it. The problem with this is that everything in Objective-C is like a branch off of NSObject. It makes a whole new branch. This timestamp category thingy that's right here, this would be my object. This is its parent, its root, its progenitor. It is the root. It's making a whole new branch out there. I have to go and do a whole bunch of things to satisfy the need of making a good Objective-C object. I'm lazy. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to erase all that and type in this new thing. I changed it from timestamp to NSApplication. NSApplication is already in the machine. It's already written. Somebody else has all worked out all the bugs. I'm going to put this parentheses on the end, and that makes it a category. I'm going to add a function to the existing NSApplication. This is the signature of that function, and it pretty much reads like this. I'm going to return a value that's going to be a string type. I'm going to print the end thing that I have here. All it's going to do is take what you give it, print it out how it knows that this is the function name, colon, this is the parameter, the variable that's being passed in. The parameter name can be changed to anything. I use in thing just like I use in string, where the in indicates that the value is going in. Just a little thing that I like to do all the time when I program. Now that was a header file. That's all I had to do with the header file. But I need to go to the source file, the M file, the other file that has a secret sauce in it. Well, there's a quick little way in the graphic in the display of that text. I go up to the right-hand side, and there's a little swap button. I click on it, and it pulls up the other file. And there's the other file. Again, it's changed this word from interface to implementation, and it got rid of that NS object thing that was on the end. But this is wrong. I don't want to do this. I want to do my version of it. Almost the same exact 2 lines beforehand. I added this line, which is to use a standard built-in C programming language file print format. And the way you read all this stuff in the parentheses is really from right to left. I'm going to take the in thing, I'm going to convert it to an actual C string, because I'm using a C string thing. I'm going to take whatever I got from this function, I'm going to stick it in where the %s is. That's a placeholder, so in this string it'll be augmented, becomes an actual part of the resulting code. Whatever that is, it goes and throws it into the standard output. Strangely enough, the terminal, or whatever you want to call it, the console, the terminal, is referred to as a file. It's a file device. And it's given the name standard output. There's also a standard error. Those are 2 separate console outputs. When you go to print something, it'll come out as text only in this particular output. When you click the button, I go into the console button. It says debugger console. There's a window there that I can open up in my Xcode. And it prints out a couple of lines that I told it to print out. This is how I invoked it in the actual Applescript. Now, I compiled and did everything in the Objective-C. I'm done with the Objective-C. I'm back in the Applescript. And this is how, there's the save beeps thing that we had before. Here's 3 different things that I could do with this. Tell. And the last one is, I could have just printed it out to the screen. That's what that log is. So that's actually a shortcut. It's just say log of the thing. Now this particular one, I made some changes. Same part here, but I changed some of this stuff down here. Namely, in OS 6, instead of having to say, tell current application to call method, blah, 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 I just literally just called it up. But I put an underscore where the colon is. So now that's how you can invoke the MS application version of printless. I also went in and I changed the title of the button. This was title before. I'm going to change it back to name. But I'm going to use the name that we used in the inspector to button push 1, which is arbitrary. I chose it so I can change it. And the reason being is, down here in the idle handler, I went and I started changing the title where it said button on the button. It's now going to have a number, and it's going to augment this, or it's going to change it every minute. Actually, I changed that too. So first thing I did was I had to have a variable that remembered where we were, so I got one that was called count. I like to put S in front of it so I know it's static, it's persistent. I go in you should note that any of the properties that I have outside of these handlers are considered global, so any of the handlers can call them, change them, and mess with them. I didn't make a slide for this, but essentially what I said here was change the title of button push 1 of window to that as a string. Got a lot of ofs in there. Well, the window is the container, and the button is in the container, and I want to change the title of the button in that window. So I have to be rather explicit when I'm doing that. That's why that one line's there. And it's going to change it to whatever scount is. But scount is a number. If I just told it to do that, it would print a strange character on the screen. So I got to convert scount to a string. That's why it says 2 S count as a string. I have to, what they call, cast it into another object type. Then this part here just goes through and says, hey, where are we? Change the count. And pretty much out of all this, this thing right here will annoy people. All you have to do is do the, actually have it less than, but it's more than, equal to, and it converts it to that. Applescript, when it compiles, sees those two, throws them together, and goes, here's a shortcut. And I also changed the minute from 1 minute to 0.1 minute, which is about 6 seconds. Now, imagine if you put the word beep in here. Every 0.1 minute, it'll go beep, beep, beep. Or you can have it save things if you want to be really annoying. Okay, so pretty much that's the Xcode version. That's how we got Applescript in there.
I didn't know Mr. Spock's from.
You did not know that? Oh, okay.
Who's kissing in the background?
That's
Two women.
well, that's the communications officer and the nurse.
Right,
I don't remember what her name is, but he's smoking a cigarette there.
That is funny.
Now we're going to do something just so you have a touch on something else, the automator. Pretty much, you start up the automator thing, and you go straight into there, you say script for the searchability. It pulls up, in this particular case, I only have 3 things there for scripting, and only one of them is actually script. When I go and I say double click on that, it opens the window to the right, and it put all that stuff in that's purple for me. It went ahead and typed all that stuff in there. Gee, that looks just like Applescript. Or I should say the script editor. But our handler for run will now expect to have 2 pieces of information. That's the difference between the script editor, Xcode, and Applescript and Automator, is that the Automator wants to have a workflow. So when it comes out of one thing that's supposed to be doing, one task, it passes information to the next one. Well, it passes 2 pieces of information, input and parameters. I would suggest that if you're really going to do Automator stuff, take your head and bang it against that wall, and then go onto the internet and look for other people that actually care. Automator is a nice package, but it's so convoluted that it's kind of not worth the effort to do it.
It's useful for simple stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, real simple stuff. I mean, there's already some built-in Automator things in there, so Applescript in here is kind of worthless. But it's to show that you can do it. Like sometimes you have some project, say it takes photographs, and you want to do some sort of modification to the photograph before you pass it on. This would be a good way to do it.
It's great for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But,
I have one that pulls images off websites for me
right.
automatically.
And there's probably one that does the streaming that I was doing with iCal too earlier. So.
But did you use Automator to see how things are done?
To
As a learning tool, if you want?
Not really. When it writes the code, it'll do it all in its little proprietary little thing, so you can't get into it and see it all the time.
Oh, so you
Or with Applescript, well, let me get to that in a second.
Yeah, it's not Applescript to do it.
Yeah. If I were to turn around and say, okay, log, here I am, which was a quick way of printing out something to the console, say, hey, this is what we're doing. When I run this, it won't do anything. And I open up the results window, and it won't show anything. So the log thing doesn't work. Yeah.
Could you tell again how you got from Automator to Applescript? What files did you use?
I just searched. I went into the search button. Once I started up Automator, typed in script, pulled up all these different types of scripts. One of them's Applescript, double-clicked on it, put it right in there for me. So that's all I did was just double-clicked on that particular one that says Run Applescript, and it throws it over there on the right-hand side into the task list, the workflow. And then I just pointed out that it's the same thing. And here's the compiled version. It runs, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't display anything. The log doesn't log. I'm sure that I could probably use the dialog feature that's available in the script editor, but I'm showing here that the result window is open down at the bottom, which is not the event log, so I can't see what it was doing as far as events go. But in the Automator, this is something that you were asking about. There's a record button. You can actually go around and click on items with the record thing, and it'll make the whole workflow for you. And then you can come in and put your script in the middle of it someplace. You just do the normal thing that you go to put something in the middle of Automator workflow. I think Automator is a great tool, but I don't have any personal use for it, so I don't beat around the bush with it too much. But if you're going to use Xcode, you can actually go and make an Automator action. Before we started with Applescript application, here is an Applescript Automator action. So I can go back and use Apple code to go make an Automator action, as opposed to making a full-blown Applescript application. That's preferences as far as anybody's concerned. This is an example of an actual quick sort algorithm that is used in Applescript, which is automatically available in Objective-C. So I put it in there so you can see that you do complex things. This is somebody else's version. I got a link there to their website, so you can go and search on it. These slides and the recording are available through me for $12 for again free. That pretty much is the whole presentation on Applescript to get you guys going. So if you wanted to say to Chuck over there, hey, how much for you to write a program for me to work in numbers? He can tell you, well, if you want an Applescript, it'll be $12. But if you want me to actually make it work, it'll be $100. This is a presentation for you guys to just have the basic vocabulary, to look it up. Mr. George was nice enough to hand me this book for coming in today. I have not used a book like this. Everything I've done so far has been searching on the internet and just looking it up. I will read through this sometime this year. And I will see if there's anything new and exciting in there. This book actually covers the newer operating systems and stuff, so it probably have a lot more features than what I talked about. But in all honesty, you're better off to go out to the internet and look for people who are the same ilk of you that want to do simple little things, take their code, steal it, and embed it in your Applescript.
Often it's not a matter of stealing. People make the stuff available in many cases.
But give them credit.
Yes.
Give them credit. Oh, yeah. Give them credit as to where you got it. That way you can go back and check them out when it doesn't work. Yes.
As I was going through my project, trying to get it to work and all, I kept getting this annoying box. Would you like to publish this to the website? So they're trying to get people to put anything that they have out for other people to pick up and use.
Oh, yeah. The idea is that you have to share among the feeds and try to figure out what you want to do and what they can do. And, like I said, this was a presentation that I did with 10.5 and using Xcode 3.0. There are different flavors of the code, so when you go out and search on the internet, see if you can find a date so you can box it in as to what operating system or Xcode platform they were using if you're going that way. If you just take somebody's code and use it, it probably won't work because they were expecting some feature in that particular application which has since been updated, like or numbers 6.06 versus numbers 09. Subtle differences that'll make you just want to chase somebody with a clue by four. So, are there any specific questions that I can help you guys with at this point? No, that's good. All right, we're out of here. Yeah.
The little project that I've is a long time ago, way back in probably System 7 days, I bought a slip art collection of CDs. These CDs are in PostScript. I mean the images, the strip art. So I've got thousands of images in PostScript.
Yeah.
Well, lots of applications today don't use PostScript anymore, but Preview still will open them.
And then convert them.
That's exactly right. So I would like to make a little Applescript that, well, I can select a whole ton of these scripts, you know, say like, Command A or something, a whole bunch of them, and then we'll take in turn, read it in, and then save it back with its original name, modified maybe a little bit, and say postscript. So I think I can do most of that, except I don't know how to select a whole ton of files at once. In other words, you know, I can probably get it to open one file, but not.
As far as what you're after, there is I was looking to see if they have.
Is there a browser tool?
Huh?
Is there a browser tool?
Browser routine?
For his
Oh, okay, well, first thing I would say is, go out on the internet and find out how people are doing, file folder enumerations, where they say, here's the target folder, give me all the file names that are in it. Make a list of that. So you find out how to do that script, play with that script, just so you can list them, and make a list, make sure you get a list. There's also in Applescript, if you open a dictionary, they'll say somewhere in there something about image. There's an application that's hidden called image something or other. I was looking to see, we don't have Applescript or a script editor on.
Yeah, open up.
This base, the bottom part, this is bending down. Well, this one looks like a compass curve. This office curve. Yeah, screen curve. But hadn't noticed that before.
Anyways, in the script editor, you can be sure under the file menu, you can open the dictionary. And it'll give you a big long list of all things. Just run down towards the I. You see image something or other. There's like 3 different versions of image converters or whatever. One of them will have a dictionary you can use, and it's a faceless application, so it doesn't invoke any kind of graphical. So once you're familiar with going and getting a list of files, you can go and see if you get to the application image thing, to go and change one of those files, post it, open it, save it, or do whatever you need. There might be something writing on the internet. You need to know something about file management, something about the image application. Then go and search on the internet for that. You'll probably find dozens of solutions that'll do that where they convert it for you. And you might be able to go and copy and paste their thing, but you need to know before you go whether or not it's relevant to your platform.
It's heavy enough
Call
that
it
she
an
doesn't
application you don't have,
hand strength to do
you
that.
can't
So
use that
it's
script.
Might just click a preview dictionary and see.
Well, see, that's gonna pull up a web view there, and the image thing is used in the background, so you don't have to have a graphical interface. That's up to you if you want to do one or the other. Again, you can also go into Automator, hit the record button, drag one of the pictures over, see what it does, right?
I said, why don't we just try and force
It's not Apple, but it's Automator.
Is there a specific place you save your application when you're done writing your Applescript? Can you save it as an application? Should you put it in a particular spot?
No, it's up to you. If you want to share it with everybody else, you can put it in the share folder. If you want to put it so it's an actual application, you can put it in the application folder.
So that when you want to run it, you just go to wherever you saved it.
Yeah, if you just want to invoke it, it's for your personal use, you just put it on the desktop.
The application.
There's a couple other things about Applescript that I didn't mention. One is that you make it a standalone application in the script editor. You might get a drag drop thing where you go and drag a bunch of pictures over and drop it on there, and processes and dumps them into another folder. Let's change the original. There's all sorts of things out there that you can do. That's why I'm trying to be general enough to get you to talk about it. Yeah, I would say give a Chuck over here. He's volunteered. Chuck has volunteered over here. Chuck.
Chucky on that.
Any other questions? Thanks, Ralph. Appreciate it.